On page 283 of your book, we discuss different types of immunologic medications, different types of vaccines. So when we refer to a vaccine, we're talking about an antigen. And an antigen is any foreign protein that enters the body and causes an inflammation reaction or an illness. So they are antigens mixed with other additives that produce an antigen-antibody response in the body. Now, I already talked about an inactivated vaccine. These are organisms that have been killed, usually by either heat, tiny amounts of radiation, or chemicals. For instance, the influenza injection is a killed vaccine. That is why no matter what people say, you cannot get the flu from the influenza injection. It just isn't possible. It's dead. Now the nasal flu vaccine that you administer through the nostrils, the inhaled, it is a weakened vaccine and theoretically could cause the flu, although you hardly ever see it, if ever. That is a weakened vaccine. It's considered a live vaccine, so isn't safe for everybody, but the injection can't give you the flu. Although people swear up and down, every time I get the flu shot, I get the flu. It's like, no, you don't. You have an immune system reaction that causes you to be tired and achy and maybe even run a small fever. That is not the flu, believe me. I have had the flu once in my life, and I would get a flu shot every day rather than have that again. That was miserable. So we see this in influenza, cholera, hepatitis A, rabies. These are all killed vaccines. Attenuated or live vaccines that have been weakened or rendered harmless. The MMR, measles, mumps, and rubella, and varicella are all examples of live weakened vaccines. Some vaccines are actually weakened toxins. Many illnesses or many bacteria will produce toxins, and it's the toxins that cause the illness and the symptoms. And so when you take those toxins and you weaken them with serial growth or exposing them to chemicals, they become known as toxoids. And examples of illnesses that will produce a toxin are tetanus, diphtheria, hepatitis B, and then the HPV, the human okay, my brain has just completely gone blank, but the HPV that causes genital warts and cervical cancers. Human papillomavirus. Okay, I knew it would come to me in a minute. More and more vaccines are being made synthetically. They are produced in a lab. They have the portions of the protein that can cause the illness without actually having capability of infecting someone. And more vaccines are being made like this. And all of these will produce active immunization, will produce immunity to the various illnesses that they are created to prevent. Particularly viral vaccines, and this is a hot topic right now because we have a virus running wild in our communities that they do not have a vaccination for. And so this whole quarantine situation, we're not used to. We haven't had to deal with this, but back in the days of polio and scarlet fever, scarlet fever is not a vaccine preventable disease, but it's wreaked plenty of havoc through history. Measles, all of these produce quarantine situations where people have had to be confined to their house. So this is kind of how we would be forced to live if we didn't have any vaccines for things. And unfortunately, we do not have a COVID-19 vaccine and probably will not for at least a year, because in spite of what anti-vaxxers say, they do test them and they make sure that they are both safe and effective before they turn them loose in the general population. But these are some examples of viral vaccines. So we have the live attenuated virus. It's just weakened. So measles, mumps, rubella, varicella, oral polio, which is an older form of the polio vaccine, not given anymore in this country. Rotavirus, one of the early rotavirus vaccines. These are serially grown in non-human cells until the virus is totally weakened. So they'll take the flu, for example, and they will grow it in chicken embryos, which is a really good medium. And they'll grow it over and over and over again until it is so far removed from its original form that it can set up an antibody response, but it cannot give you the illness. Now, FluMist is an example of a live attenuated virus. And there are some requirements for FluMist. You have to be between the ages of 2 and 49. So below the age of 2, you're too young. Over the age of 49, you're too old. So us old people, we got to get the shot. You cannot get the FluMist if you're pregnant. No one with a history of Guillain-Barré syndrome. If you've had Guillain-Barré syndrome, you really can't get any flu shot, live or dead. And then no adults who are immune compromised. If you're within the correct age range between 2 and 49, yet you are HIV positive or you are taking medication to suppress your immune system, you cannot get this live FluMist. The whole killed virus is the injected influenza, rabies, hepatitis A. Many times viral vaccines are created from what they call virus subunits. They just take the outer protein coat of a virus, enough to create an immune response or recognition in the body, but not enough to make the body sick. So hepatitis B and human papillomavirus are two examples of virus subunits. Human papilloma virus gets a lot of hate from the anti-vax community, blamed for a lot of complications, when in reality, because it's made from the virus subunit and not the whole virus, it is one of the safest vaccines out there. People just hate it because they think it'll make you have sex. And then a reassortment virus, that's where they take the viral RNA. They have to really get in there and take apart that virus, take the RNA, take the genes and kind of disassemble them and then reassemble them where they have no more active ability, but the body will recognize it and prevent illness. And the newer rotavirus vaccine is an example of this. Safer, considered to be safer than the earlier rotavirus vaccine, and prevents a nasty GI illness that usually doesn't kill children in this country, thank God, because we have decent medical care, but kills a lot of children in developing countries throughout the years.